I'm Marianne Pelletier of Stoppel Analytics Group. Greg?
I'm Greg Duke, also Stoppel.
And Gayla, you want to introduce Scrivener?
Hi, I'm Gayla, owner of Scrivener Solutions. We're kind of the back office admin team for Marianne and the Stoppel team.
You know that you're doing interesting things when you can pawn off some of your administrivia. And these guys handle it really well. Okay, got some good friends here on the list. Thanks everybody for joining. The format is, if you're new to this, the format is, because we put you in meeting form, you are welcome to interrupt the conversation. Most of the attendees prefer to type stuff into chat. Greg and Gayla will interrupt me if I get carried away and I forget to check the chat. And we will see the chat and respond to you. No worries at all, Elizabeth. I am going to show you the website. I was hoping that you were talking about this website. What we're going to talk about today is the Fundraising Effectiveness Project. We've been getting into helping our clients deal with annual giving, especially given that there's a recession coming up. So a study was done in the 80s. During the good times, corporations and foundations give more money, and during the bad times, people give more money. So as we work into a recession globally, I even heard about fish and chips are really expensive in England now. We're going to rely on individuals much more than we have in the past few years. Except in the past few years, individuals have been giving us big gifts because they haven't been able to spend it on anything else. Okay, so if you are a member of AFP, you can get into afpglobal.org fundraising effectiveness project. And I can put this right up in chat if you feel like coming along with me. And I want to thank Elizabeth Quilter, who is present, for showing me this. She presented it at my local AFP chapter, AFP Finger Lakes. Oh, and Elizabeth just took her quilt off her page. Oh, there she is waving. Extraordinary consultant. She and I have shared at least one gig together. There are two things that this does. First is that it sets up a piece of Excel software, a macro software, to I beg your pardon. I'm trying to do and talk at the same time, and that's always difficult for me. That's why I don't talk and chew gum. To figure out how your annual fund is doing, right? The second is that it helps you compare to other organizations. And I'm not sure where they get the other organization data, but here are the reports that you can use to compare your data. Okay, so here's the reports library that you can use to compare yourself to other organizations. And of course, once I start getting excited, my nose starts itching. I think I'll just go kiss a mirror so I can get it over with, the kissing a fool business, so my nose will leave me alone. Okay, so here's the reports. We want to go back and go to the tools. Thanks, Elizabeth. Here's the fundraising fitness test, and I don't know what the net analyzer is. Okay, but we're going to go to the fitness test, and so there are other tools that we can explore. And I can download the files. To download the files, I'm going to click here. They show up in my downloads folder as a zip file. And when I unzip them, can I go back? Yes. I unzip them to Gains in Giving report template, the fitness test itself. Okay, this is the sample that I built last night to show you. And then here's some information, and then growth and giving report. Okay, now when I go to the fundraising fitness test, I'm going to open up the one that I haven't filled yet. The first thing I need to do is it pops up to the wrong page. I'm going to click my arrow and go back. And what am I doing here? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in some gift data. Okay, looks like I did put in some gift data. All right, and so what I did with this data is I took a file. At Stoppel, we have two separate online accounts. One is eTapestry and one is NXT, where we can do experiments for our clients, but also where we can fill in sample data. So this is not real data. I'm just going to select all of these. I'm going to Control C them. I'm going to go into the fitness test, and you see this account number? That's not the account numbers that I gave it. See, I give it different account numbers. What did it do? Well, let's go over what it did. If I can find the page that does that. Where is the page that does that? There it is. So the first thing it does is it sorts the data by account number, and it reassigns account numbers to avoid gaps. They just figured that out. Then they figure out the date, year, and the fiscal year, and I'll show you how it knows what the fiscal year is for me. And then it processes the data, largest data to row, copy, do the data sets. Okay, so when I'm in here, you see this year is not going to be filled in. So it'll look like this when you get it. Apparently I saved it last night with some data in it, and this will look weird. It won't look like your data. Okay. I'm going to go to the step-by-step process, and I'm going to say run the fitness test. And what's going to happen is I'm going to get an error message, and I want to be on this page because I was just talking to the developer last night and this morning. And he offered me some more stuff. When we write our follow-up blog post with this, I'll send you some more tools that he introduced me to. So, and while it's running, this is a very short donor list. Online, they say, can run up to half an hour. But you are likely to get an error message. And the error message is the thing that I want to address next. But do you, Elizabeth, do you want to talk about the comparisons, or do you want to wait until we get to those pages? Yeah, you're muted. Isn't that fun?
Of course I am. That's a healthy place to be. I'm happy to wait. I just know that you said you weren't sure how they got the comparative data. Any of that stuff that I can help with, I'm happy to, but we can wait. I'm really intrigued by what you're going to do about the error message.
Okay. So, do you mind talking about that now while we wait for this error message to pop up?
Oh, sure. Not at all.
I promise I will not go off the screen. It will stay here until we see.
Okay. So the fundraising effectiveness project started with a collaborative group of software companies that help nonprofits, large national nonprofits, the Association of Fundraising Professionals, Giving USA, Carnegie Mellon University, and several others. And it aggregated and anonymized data over 10 years, and then gave information to the smart math people to develop the macro-enabled spreadsheet. And then in the subsequent years, since it was rolled out several years ago, they have continued to finesse and fine-tune it. One of the other things that happens is the agreements with the large software companies and the large national organizations continue their MOUs. And again, it's anonymized data, but it helps when you get into if you go across the bottom of the screen and you compare to various things, you can compare on region, age of organization, size of organization, type of organization. And that's because there are quarterly reports that are then run through. And so they can tell you really up to the minute. And through the pandemic, it's been fascinating to see how some of that stuff wobbles and doesn't. And I don't speak data and I don't speak math. And yet I love this because it gives us some real opportunity to identify areas where we can improve and grow. And also it gives us opportunities to see where we're doing well. So if we're the type of organization that has a high retention rate in this category, and everybody else in our sector or region or age has a lower, we can pat ourselves on the back that we're doing something right. And we can figure out what we're doing right so we can do it in other areas. So the reporting is how they get the quarterly reports, and it continues to evolve. So I should probably look at chat. Yes, it's predominantly US data, Liz. And the comparatives are filtered, I believe it's either 5 or 6 geographic regions, Pacific Northwest, Southeast, Northeast. I forget if the middle is broken up into 2 or 3. I know Southwest is. As a healthcare system, is there a way to exclude employee giving that can really see retention numbers? My understanding of this, actually, I have a human service organization as a client who wanted to do this, and I referred them to the help desk at the Fundraising Effectiveness Project because they understand better than I do how to sort different data. So the answer is yes, you can exclude things, and it has to do with how you export your data into the system. The regions, yes, Liz, are relating to US geography. It is a US project. It was intended to be North American, and then there were some anomalies with the Canadian system, and so it came back to US. Looks like, did I fill the time okay, Mary
You
Ann?
did great, and thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
you guys are asking great questions, and you're reminding me that I went a little too fast. So what we did when I downloaded this stuff out of our fake database is I pulled out the account number, the date, and the received amount. Now the question that Lois is asking is, I feel like this question relates to people who make salary deductions, and therefore it looks like they give 26 times a year or 52 times a year. And you can do pledge, use the pledge date and the pledge if you want to do it that way. Also note that I was looking for completed years. So I wanted to go through the June 30th, 2022, because my fiscal year ends in June. The next thing that you reminded me to talk about, I'm going to show you this in a second because it looks like I fixed this error last night. There's one thing I should have done before I started this, hit this button, was I should have put in the initial year. It's the latest year of completed fiscal year, and that's 2022. And then what is the last fiscal year month? So that's, for us, it's June, that's month 6. Okay. I ran the test and I apparently had fixed the thing. I was so excited. If you get this error, method range of object global failed. Okay.
Sorry, that would scare me.
Yes, it would scare you. And don't be afraid, because you have to pull this one little thing. And if the one little thing blows up on you, then of course you're going to send me an email going, Mary Ann, get on Zoom, explain this to me. Right. But it says, you look, this range, this A1 to H174, there's a period between the A1 and the H74. It should be a colon. So I replaced, Greg is all over this.
That's been a long-term error of the AFP. So I remember seeing that error 2 years ago.
Yes. So the developer told me this morning that, because of the new version of Excel something, but all I had to do was change this period to a colon and I'm good. Now you might, like Elizabeth, because Elizabeth is a people person, you might feel intimidated. And so we would do it together, or I would walk you through it, right? Or you would watch this video again. The reason that I put that up is for the video. Okay. So having done the right things, I did 2022, I did 6. I said, run fitness test. I went out for a coffee or for my lunch. And when I came back, I have my top indicators. Now, what does this tell me? And please stop me, pop in, ask a lot of questions. This is about my data. So Liz, this is the part that will be helpful to you. What is my donor retention rate? Right? So I retain 15% of my 5,000 and up donors give, which means I pay a lot of attention to them, or those kind of people who give that level giving are the kind of people that like to give to us. But where do we get the money from, right? So all these zeros, and this divide by 0 means there are zeros. Okay. My donor, what's my donor? Look at this, 560%. Lois, I agree with you. If you want to run this test only for community donors and then save it as, let's say I just save this as, and then I say FAP fitness test, community donors, I'm all set. Then I can do the other piece. Yep. Okay. So my acquisition rate, I attracted a whole lot of people, right? So we had 101 donors in that we gained. We lost 103, so we lost 2 of them. Okay. And then what did we retain at these levels? We lost 46 at 5,000 and up. Who are those 46? Right? Who are those 46? They gave 5,000 last year, not 5,000 this year. Do they need some kind of, yes, Larissa, we'll track more than 2 years at a time. I'll show it to you. Okay. This is how much more we made in money. Now everybody pays attention to that, right? This is how much more we made in money. We're fine. right? But we also lost 5. Now, these numbers are ridiculous. I don't know if you've watched my water cooler chats before. A lot of this data is built on basketball play-by-play data. So, you know, Devontae, oh, I don't remember anybody's name anymore because it's not basketball season. You know, the Kobe Bryant, right, gets like, you know, 50 points in the game. All of a sudden he gets credited with a $5 million gift the way I programmed it. Okay. Let's take a look at the income summary. Our income. These are average gifts under $100 is $28. Okay. Summer League.
Elizabeth
Oh.
has her hand raised.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I didn't want to jump in and interrupt, but I did need to say, yes, everybody looks at the money numbers, and we have to really pay attention to the retention rate on first-time donors, because that's down under 20% right now, which means 8 out of 10 of your new donors are leaving. And because we know that it costs more than $1 to raise a new acquired dollar, and it only costs 20 cents, and those numbers continue to be consistent, to raise a second dollar from the first donor dollar, that retention of first-time donors may be the most important thing you're paying attention to in annual giving. I also saw a question about individuals. It is individuals only unless your data is coding small businesses the same way it's coding individuals, in which case those small businesses or anybody else. I did have a client who had United Way giving included in their FEP, and it really skewed everything. But yes, it's intended to be for individual donors. Sorry, I had to say that about the
Of course.
80% are leaving, because it's a devastating fact, and
Yeah.
we have to pay attention to it.
Penelope Burke says the same thing, and I've demonstrated the same thing whenever I've done that study. So it holds up everywhere that I've seen. The questions are like, does this include this kind of donor? Does this include this kind of gift? I chose what went into this study. So I chose individuals. I threw out Stop Hell because Stop Hell is a huge donor, right, to ourselves. And so I chose what gifts go in here. So if you don't want to include businesses, if you don't want to include matching gifts, you just want to understand people and how they give. If you do want to include businesses because you're a softball league and you need some help, excuse me, include them, but you're asking the right questions. Wait, you know, why is this so weird? Oh, United Way, right? Perfect example. So, all right. Here's the 6-year trends, and does this go for more than 1 year? So here's, they gave in 1 year, the next year, that same people gave less. See how much less they gave? But in 2018, they gave more, 2019, and look in 2020, the pandemic, right? In 2021, the pandemic, right? This is fake data, but I'm so happy that it follows the trend, right? This is red because there's another page where I can make sure this number is the same as that number. Every red number, I can go to a different page and look at the values to make sure that they match and that the whole macro worked. That's how I test the macro. Here's our average gift amounts. So our average gift amounts went up, and in 2020, they were huge, right? Now, if you picture this is like the Jewish Health and Welfare Service in New York City, I would see this amount go up like that because, you know, people are freaking out. Are we going to be okay? You know, so I'm going to do something. Okay. Here's our monthly donors. So this answers that, comes back to one of parts of Lois's question. And then our acquisition rate. We acquire 145% of the number of donors we had last year, which begs the question that Elizabeth just asked obliquely, right? Are you spending all of your money acquiring donors, but you don't steward them well enough to keep them? Okay. I didn't look enough at this Greenfield thing. Donors of record, rate of growth, right? This is one of those places. Here's 109, here's a 15. So I can look at these and make sure if they're the same, then the macro worked through to this page. Here's growth in giving. Okay, and then notice the average gift size is dropping. So for under 100, 100 to 240, it's dropping. Does this mean that it's because we dropped our phone-a-thon, so we don't ask them outright to give us 100, right? And then what's our gain loss for, and this looks very CPA, right? But here's new, recapture, and upgrade. This is what we care about. Downgrade, lapse, new, lapse, repeat. So if I'm losing $5 million, it's because people gave less. If I'm losing $3 million because people gave less, how do I go find those people so that I can, and of course that's a query, right?
Mhm.
Now I can take a look at, here's the comparison. Here's the survey that Elizabeth was describing to us. So our gain or loss was our loss was 40%. That's the negative, right? Just like you'd read a stock chart. And it's 51 for the rest of the industry. So I can say, look, I get to keep my job because I did slightly better than everybody in the world. Right? Liz is asking a brilliant question. The definitions of new, recapture, upgrade, downgrade. Let's go look at the documentation. We're all going to be impatient, so let's go downgrade. Let's see if it's there. No, it's not. Okay, Mr. Williams didn't write about what that definition was. I'm sure
It's
they
actually
did.
Ms. Williams,
I
and,
think you're
and
right.
she did.
She did?
But I think she calls it something else. Just if you'll just scroll down the article, I think you may find.
Okay, let me just look in here.
Okay.
Okay. We'll go back up.
Yep. And just scroll down. There's a pretty cool chart, I think, once you get past all the artwork. So here you, nope, keep going.
Here we go.
Here we go, stop. So this is the basic underlying definition of those various areas.
So sometimes, donors who've never given prior to year 2, well, some of us say it's year 5 years back. Some of us say really never ever means never ever. Their life-giving value is 0, no matter how many conversions we've had. This tool goes 3 years back. So we might think of them as lapsed, long lapsed, and non-donors.
Mhm.
So if I were doing your modeling, what makes a new donor, I would go for the not real non-donors. I would not use the definition here, but the tool, because the tool works with 2 years for most of its work, we have to land here. Liz is reading. I'm going to let her read.
No, I'm actually not even going to type. I'm going to jump in. Like, see, this is a beautiful example. New donors, as you mentioned, Marianne, we typically think of them as acquired, never given to our organization before, but that's not how they're being defined here. So, I mean, it can really skew the analysis and the strategy you end up implementing from the data if you have a misunderstanding of the definition. So
yes,
thank you for this. Thank you for indulging in my multitude of questions.
No, you're doing exactly what these water cooler chats are. We explore something together, and then everybody jumps in and has lots of questions and makes lots of comments and makes fun of me.
So
That's
let
how
me
it
just
is.
give a little bit anecdotally.
Who wants to come in and make fun of me? See, I told you.
In the course of the last couple of years, I've had a couple of clients who took a look at this data and made some special segmented appeals to their new lapsed donors, people who did not give a year ago, but gave 2 years ago, right? And then some of the folks who came in during that, and they did it from a real donor-centric, thank you for your previous support kind of way. They didn't go, oh, we missed you, why aren't you giving to us anymore? But they did remind them that they were important. And the results were, again, this is anecdotally just a couple of clients, remarkable. They reacquired those donors and those donors then stayed. And it's just that extra touch of cultivation and stewardship soon enough that they haven't forgotten who you are. So it really helped. And you can do something so special when it's segmented that specifically. Your messaging can be very personalized. So
I
just
jump in here a little bit because I've used this for clients in the past. This is a program that really benefits from taking your data and looking at it in several different segmentations. If you want to look at just annual fund data, you can do that. If you want to look at just alumni giving, if you're an educational institution, you can do that as well. Because this is a pretty neutral type of software. It's most of the comparisons, like you go to top indicators, Pareto principle, really all the way to the comparison section. All of these are basically comparing your data against itself. So if you want to see if alumni giving has improved, you can just put in alumni giving. If you want to compare, I think there's Sherry Fu had a question on should we put in pledge or recurring gift? I'd say try both, and then see if you're getting more recurring gifts, more pledges over the last year or so. As I say, this is a program that really does benefit from looking at a large number of different segments.
And let me just pitch South Hell Group here, because when I freak out because I don't speak math and I don't speak data, but I love this, I can reach out to them and they can help me. And I just love that they are a resource and an asset. And Marianne didn't even pay me to say that.
No, I didn't. We lose the first 20 minutes to venting time, but yes, we get a lot done. Yeah, so, and as Greg is saying, I chose what gifts I put in this file. So I can go back 5 years and say anybody 5 years or more, is a non-donor. Anybody who hasn't given in the last 5 years is a non-donor. I can choose whatever I want to go into this file. And if we're trying to figure out, what happened to our athletics program now that nobody can go to the game, I'll choose athletics, or I'll choose athletics donors. I mean, what if they shifted their giving to something else? That becomes a whole different study. Oh crap, now I'm gonna have to want to build that tool. Okay. So this is some more specific information about 2 years worth, right? Here's donors and gifts. Who are upgraded, who stayed the same. And then we go back 2021 to 20, right? And so one of the questions is, do you go back? And so this is just going back each year. Notice my number of donors is very small, but my giving is really high. We have a client who's like that. They have something like 200 donors who give multi-millions of dollars because of what they do. So this isn't, we've seen this, but only once. The small number of donors, a lot of gifts. And so I can pull this information out, hey, we had 35 donors. I'm going to put it in my report for my boss. As Liz already mentioned to us, I'm going to tell my boss number of people who haven't given in 2 years or more. And that way I'm protecting I'm protecting myself from people going, well, when you say new donors, we're supposed to, because I know that he wasn't a new donor. I know that she wasn't a new donor, and then all of a sudden you get stuck in the world, the cookie world of this data is wrong. Because people would rather do that than, people would rather play American Idol than take action on the recommendations that you make about half the time. So, okay. So yeah, so this is the comparison data, and this says, this is a lot of stuff. This is a sheet that I don't understand. Okay, one of the things that you can do is the what if, and you can make a copy of this sheet, and you can say, what if we get extra, double the number of donors who give under 100, what's going to happen? And it uses the average gift and it figures it out for us. So I can copy this sheet into the workbook and do some more what if scenarios. And I've done this with clients. You only need you know, for every platinum membership, you know, you need 100 regular members. So do you want to go get 100 regular members? Do you want to figure out a platinum membership? And they know, because our clients know their people, they know their constituents, they know which one they can actually accomplish. All right, who has questions or comments? And what do you want to look at again? This is how we do this. We present for about 20 minutes and then we all get into a big discussion.
Marianne, would you scroll across the bottom to what some of those other worksheets are?
Sure. So our top indicators, our income summary, where did the income come from?
No, I mean across the tabs along the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Like keep
These, the
going,
year one?
keep going, keep going, keep going, and then plus, 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 keep
Oh.
going. Yep.
I don't think that's what you meant.
It was what I meant, but I thought I was going to see something else. So sorry.
No, that's okay.
That was a wild goose chase. So I'll back off.
No. What Elizabeth is reminding me that there's a bazillion tabs in here. So this is how I can figure out, all right, this is just 2 years of measurement. This is how I can figure out where my donors came from and what my gift size. So this is 100 to 249, 250 to 999, 11 donors, right? And in the prior year, it was 8. So we went up 3. We went up 3 donors. Give me a raise, right? But here we hit 1,000. We went from 39 to 27. The hard part about all of this is translating it in a way that you can talk to the client. And you can hear that Elizabeth is really good at this, right? Or you can talk, if you work with gift officers and annual fund officers in the annual fund program, you have internal clients. So I still think of them as clients, right? It's figuring out how to say, hey, you know, you guys did really good here. You got a whole lot of gifts at $100, but the problem is the catch is that the average gift went down. You did brilliantly at getting $13 million or $15 million and $500 or $5,000 gifts or more, but you also lost, what is that? 54? No, 48. You lost 48 donors at that level, which means you lost a total of. Right, and how do I present this? I'm not going to put these numbers up because you know what's going to happen? You're going to see people doing what I'm doing, squinting, trying to remember what it means, right? You're going to tell the story. And you might do it, so this is a fair question. You might do it in like, does anybody remember the Atlantic Monthly's bullet list? They had a name, it had a special name, and they might even still do it, right? So, right.
It's important to help educate whomever you're giving the report to or dashboard to on the importance of number of gifts as well as amount of money. Because organizations can be showing over the short term more money coming in, but if that's new donors and it's costing a lot more, what they will end up doing is losing money and they won't figure it out because they're like, but we're raising more every year. So help educate on number of gifts, number of donors, and amount of money, number of dollars. And the answer for most small and mid-sized organizations right now to almost any question they ask is monthly giving. So it's donor retention and monthly giving. If you can help convert annual donors to monthly donors, you are in a much stronger position to retain. Donor retention is the most effective fundraising strategy by far, bar none. And that's what these tools will help you figure out. But you have to convince your internal audiences or clients.
So yeah, so when you put up this, does anybody remember what the name of that list was? The Harper list or the Atlantic list? Am I dating myself? This is probably the 80s now. Okay. So so that's how I'm gonna pull this stuff out and I'm gonna explain it. All this stuff over here, It's not, it's this over here. Then they highlighted it in yellow so I can look at the stuff that matters. Okay, so I said we went from 12 to 15, but we also went from 54 to 36 donors, which means that we're leaning on 6 people. See these 6 people? We're leaning on 6 people. So I'm telling the story. And if I can't tell the story, I'm not going to put this up in front of an audience. You're watching, you know, I've been practicing this for a couple of weeks, and you're watching me still go, what am I looking at? And thank God Elizabeth is here. I owe her a beer or some coffee or something. Harper's Index. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. You saved me. Right. And if we say, yeah, well, it doesn't matter because we have smaller level donors. Well, okay. But yeah, we went from 246 to 806. But you know what? Our average gift, I would go find our average gift. Our average gift of those 806 people, it went down. Didn't it go down? Well, I gotta find the sheet. Okay. There's a sheet in here. Our average gift. I'm coming. I had it. I did have it. I had it last night while I was doing my, I did, honest to God. Oh, here we go. Average gift size in year 2, 29. We went from 29 to $28. Does that matter? Yeah. Went from 29 to 28.79. Now you're like, well, that's only 21 cents. Well, yeah, that's 10%. So we did have to go to 800 people to get that. Does that make sense? They put a lot of, you know, every time we turn around, we ask for more stuff, more stuff, more stuff. And the next thing you know, we have a Salesforce database for a, you know, a mom and pop nonprofit, right? But this is the point is, it doesn't matter what all is in here as long as the thing that you really need to look at is in here, and you don't know what you need to look at until you find it, right? And that's what we do for clients. You know, clients say, well, how many variables did you really have to look at 1,000 variables to do our study? And the answer is yes, because we needed to look at everything because we needed to find the best answer to making it better, right? So this is 122.71. This is my number of gifts, right? See my average frequency? This is where I can check and see if Elizabeth can, you know, if people listen to Elizabeth and got monthly donors. 122.71 for year 2. Where did I find that for year 1? And 123 in year 1. So now I'm losing $1 per donor. So I gained 7, I lost 5, but you know what? My giving went down. What's that expression? Little by little after a while makes a big pile. Okay, questions or comments? What do you want to look at next? This is for you guys. Let me check and see if this is that lady's. Oh yeah, look, spam.
Quick question, Mary Ann. Could you
Yeah.
hit F11?
I'm sorry?
Could you hit the button F11? I'm curious to see something here.
I hit F11.
Oh, that's.
It's opening Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
You're
pass
going to
on
hear
that.
about Power BI now.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Alt F11.
Is the text too small?
Yeah, I just want to know if this is editable,
If the what?
if the program is editable, because I remember it hit the developer under the ribbon there, two over to the left there.
Sorry.
And hit Visual Basic. I'm just
Oh, Greg is about to, okay, now, if you're not a geeky, right, I'm gonna ask Elizabeth Coulter to step away, because she's gonna want to look at this.
yes, it is.
Everybody else, take a big
Okay,
swig of hot chocolate.
now you can close this. Now you can close this. I
Okay.
just wanted to know that because, yeah, I saw a couple things that div 0.
Yep.
Yep. So I just
Oh,
wanted
yeah,
to
the program, the macro should say.
yes, it is scary. Sorry, Elizabeth.
The macro should say, if you get an error, put a 0 in here or something.
Yeah.
So it's just, but if I put a 0 in here, it says repeat donor retention rate is 0. And that's not really the answer. The answer is I don't have anything to divide that by. I started with 0. You didn't have any donors before. So that's why, but your chances are, if you have a good, you're going to have a much more robust database than the, because we only have 1,000 donors, so we don't pay more than that subscription price.
Okay, thanks for indulging me, Mary Ann.
Sure. Yeah, if you guys want to geek out with Greg. He's our Excel man.
Yes.
You could even copy this and start building the ribbon up here to press the buttons, and yeah.
Yep. One day at a time. I'll have to do all that again. So thank you. Yeah.
Questions or who wants to look at something next? Are you guys just sitting back eating your lunch and expecting us to entertain? I can tell you a joke if I can remember one on the spot.
Mary Ann, could
Yeah.
you go over again the year comparison? I think there's so much data on the screen that I was kind of lost in how you made the comparison between, for example, the $122 to $120. Just if you could do that a little more slowly.
Right. And so,
Yeah.
right. Okay. So the setup, okay, this is another way to approach it, because you're right. I just sort of threw all that out there, Maggie. Here's the thing, right? So I'm going to set up a bunch of questions. Right? Because everything, this is a scientific method, right? Right. So if somebody says, oh, why do you suppose? Fundraisers love to say, why do you suppose? Right? My answer is usually, I don't care, just use it. But so, okay, so how do we raise more money? Well, let's take a look. Let's start with our top indicators, right? So do I have a total? I don't have a total. I'm sorry. I'm not going to start with our top indicators.
Try going to the 6-year trend.
Okay, thank you.
I find that very helpful.
Over here? No.
Along the bottom, it's to it. There you go.
Okay. So how did we get from 12 to 15? That doesn't make sense to me, right? And look, we're doing brilliantly. Look at how brilliantly we're doing, right?
And
But
then scroll down a little bit, Mary Ann, because I think what it does then is show you who's repeating, who's lapsing, and
Right.
this is going to give you more detail just on the 6-year trend. It's gonna help you break down those numbers a little bit, I think.
Thank you. Okay. So Maggie, Elizabeth saved me. I owe her a second coffee.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Sure. Although, I mean, I think what I have learned is that we have to use this the way it makes most sense for us. I think other people might look at it differently. And And Ruben asked a question about comparing with other orgs, and
Yep,
and
That's
Liz
the
dittoed
FEP
that.
data over here, right?
Well, I would do the comparison, which is right there. Yep. So part of the reason this is helpful, I find, is that if you're sort of gasping because you think your number is ridiculous or you're super psyched that it's great, I find if you come over and look at this, and again, if you scroll down the page, it tells
Oh, by the
you.
way, I'm noticing this is comparison with 2010. I don't know if that's because they didn't update the title on the sheet or if this is really 2010 data.
Gosh, well, that's a great question,
I
but
would go
I
back
can
to the
tell you
website
that
and I would look for this data on the website to see if it agrees.
yeah, exactly
Okay.
right. But so the comparison with others really just helps you get a sense of if you're sort of in the ballpark, because right now, I believe nationally overall retention is what, like 45 or 46%, which means you're losing more than half of your donors every year at all levels.
Yeah.
And the numbers for first-time donors, I think would, probably send me to my therapist if I was just in my little office looking at my numbers and thinking I was losing 80% of my first-year donors. I have somebody whose first-year retention number is 29%, and I'm like, woo, woo, and she's crying. And I'm like, no, seriously, that's much better, right?
Yeah, 1 out of 3.
Yeah. So it just, I think, Ruben and Liz, what it helps you with is just having some sense of sort of where you fit and what others are finding. That's what I find comfort in this. It may help you with some of your internal discussions if you are trying, for example, to advocate for an acquisition budget that's significantly higher because maybe you're in a pre-campaign mode, or if you're trying to really segment those $500 to $1,000 donors, trying to get them up over 1,000, maybe you put in a special society for donors who will give 1,000 or more, and you can really work on the 500s, especially ones who have given at least 3 or 4 years in a row. So those are the kinds of budget related strategic decisions that you may need help with. And I think this gives you some data to sort of prove out your theories.
So here's the other note, right? So we've got, you can also get the appendices on the reports, right? So if we go back to the fundraising effectiveness test and we look at the reports, because we have the time, you guys are very succinct. So, for Pete's sake, can I choose which one I want?
I saw there was one for Canada there.
Ooh, Canada.
Yeah, scroll up a little bit. They have these are all the ones they got. And if you scroll up just a little bit more.
There it is, 2019 fourth quarter Canada.
Yeah.
There you go, Liz.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They knew you were coming. So, okay, I'm gonna end up downloading the whole thing. Now to download the whole thing, I'm gonna have to give away my name. By the way, Elizabeth, this is not the first time I put your name in here.
Golden jewels for my crown of glory, Marianne.
Great.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, and then I will get the, thanks, Ruthie, it's good to see you. And then I'll get the email that says, go get the reports. So do you guys want to see if my inbox has a bunch of nonsense in it? There it is. So Q22 report. And I would ask you guys to just give away your name and address. And notice that I did have to be an AFP member. So grab one of the AFP members on your staff to get this for you. All right, so we're down in donors, we're up in dollars, we're down in retention. But if we do donors by donor size, life cycle, let's go get the appendices. I'm just gonna look for that appendices that had the, it didn't have the, I'm looking for the industry.
That exists, but I don't know where it is. So
Okay.
I would have to look a little deeper. And honestly, I haven't been deep into this in, I would say, more than a year, but I do know that it exists.
Since the last time you and I presented on this. Here's the full.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Where's the? When Stopel does stuff like this, we put up a table of contents so you don't have to do this. Just saying. Organization, size. Okay, now we have some size. 5 million to 25 million by cause. Here we go. Here we go. Where's my? I need expandy. There. So you're right, Liz, you are. Okay, so I could say, you know, if the FEP that's in the worksheet, you know, if I'm, you know, trying to figure it out, like Ruben, your industry is very specific, right? So I could come in here and I could get a better comparison number. Like environment and animals got 20% increase when.
And that's in fourth quarter of
Yeah.
2021. This report is just for the fourth quarter, which, as we know, continues to be when most of the gifts come in for most organizations.
Mm-hmm. Great. What is a useful thing to offer? Oh, yeah, drilling down to the donor names. I was checking to try it.
Yeah, Liz asked that question. Yeah.
Greg, could you go backwards and select the donors in that gift range size back to your data and then open it up that way?
You wouldn't be able to figure out where they fit in the sense of lapse, relapse, because as I was saying to Liz, Excel isn't really built for doing that in the way that
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Power BI are. It doesn't really point back to the donor. So.
Yeah.
Okay, even in the report where they had, Marianne, I think when you were doing it, you showed a record number. And so there were your record numbers or account numbers.
Right, but notice these account numbers have been reformatted to fit their requirements. So I have to play a game with this to figure out who these people are.
Right.
Okay.
Recaptured,
Okay.
upgraded, recaptured.
Okay,
Right.
I see.
Yep.
I see. Thank
But
you.
Greg and Liz are asking a brilliant question. So what if like Maggie, right? I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know, I like bits of this, but I don't want to put this in front of all this yellow in front of my gift officers and have them go, what am I looking at? What am I looking at? Well, I remember the time, right? Because then the meeting will never go anywhere. However, there are some key pieces in here that I really, really like. But now that I have the idea from the fundraising effectiveness project, right? Now that the Beehive has come up with these brilliant ideas, I'm going to go over to my Excel file and I'm going to go to my Tableau and my Power BI and I'm going to build the pivot tables. So people say, show me the people that we've lost. And I click and they go, oh yeah, those are all my prospects, right? That's where you want to get right there because people, when you're working with management, you're working with gift officers. And when you're working with gift officers, they want to talk about people. So that's where you get right to it. So this is a nice way to pick it up as an idea. Thanks everyone for coming.